Hello and welcome to DataSunrise demo. Now we'll see the essential features of DataSunrise for the dynamic masking feature. The dynamic masking feature works with queries and result sets with output from the database back to the user in response to their queries. So if we have a DataSunrise running in the proxy mode, then DataSunrise can accept connections through the proxy port and IP address and redirect it with a second connection to the database instance. This is how it works. So the man in the middle or in the proxy mode, in the reverse proxy mode, DataSunrise can handle sessions, fields, and queries and help you to control actually access to sensitive information. Let's see how does it work. So in my case, I have a demo application called Manager of Customers. There's an application user ID I enter here and the password I can enter here. So when I log in, I will work through the DataSunrise. So this web application operates through DataSunrise in the proxy mode. So DataSunrise controls all queries and all sessions, fields, and the output if required. DataSunrise can amend it a little bit if necessary. Well, in my case, number 1 and number 2, let's call them credit card masking and user-defined database function call. I will show you how you can easily apply simple masking method for this card column, right? There could be financial information we would like to hide from some people, from some users. Okay, or there's another example, email. If you want to hide user part of the email, DataSunrise doesn't have all possible scenarios covered with the dynamic masking method, so you can plug in your own user-defined function to DataSunrise masking rules, and DataSunrise will work for you, right? It will call it user-defined function instead of retrieving data as it is from the database instance tables. How we can set up DataSunrise to operate with dynamic masking rules? Yeah, 2 rules I want to show you now, right? One of them is a mask card, which will correspond to the credit card I showed you, and there is a mask email column. Let's start up from the mask card rule. And okay, we see that it's connected to the database instance we protect, right? In the action settings, we can use different settings we want to use. Well, in my case, I don't want to use anything here. Well, it's an essential thing if someone received the output from DataSunrise and wanted to update the data back to the database, then we can use different actions to prevent modifying the data that was masked on the select statement. So these are 3 settings. If you want to avoid blocking that, we don't block in updates, deletes and updates with masked data back to the database instance. Or we can block updates if the column is included in the query. So it will block updates if the column is included in the where clause. Okay, so this is not the case. Right? If this is your scenario, just go ahead and take that. Or we don't want to change the masked column on updates and we'll block deletes if the columns is included in the where clause. Okay, in my case, I'm going to block updates and block deletes if the user already received the data masked and wants to put these data banks, masked data back to the database instance. Well, this is a horrible scenario because it will update the data that should not be masked in place and will persist the data with masked data. This is why I've used this approach, right? So this can help you. And the blocking method here will tell you, so what's going on? And there will be query error. So we take the masked data from data through that you receive from DataSunrise. If you want to put it back with updates and right, then DataSunrise will block that. So this is a general rule. And the filter sessions here tells us what conditions we want to apply to sessions. We can pick up the application that's connected through DataSunrise, users, different regular expression patterns, hosts from different IP addresses or subnets. If the protocol supports operating system user, you can use it as well, or you can use an arbitrary session parameter. Well, this is a case when there's a special parameter. They're included in the protocol, and we can take it as well. In my case, this will be like a general rule. Well, I'm going to work with all sessions. Right, it will apply for everything for everybody from any place. In the masking settings subsection, we are going to work with specific columns. In case of DataSunrise object rules, so this is connected to objects, right? We're going to work with DML statements. Well, if you want to use another thing, it's called masking inside of stored procedures and functions and views, then you can use these check-in boxes. You have to turn on this feature, right, to process procedures and functions and views. And in my case, I'm going to pick up this card column, which I will mask, right, for all user sessions and whatever people connected from. And the masking method here will use credit card masking. There are many other things like masking methods, right? And the credit card masking will provide us the coverage with XXXXXXX for the beginning of the credit card, right? So now let's, enable the rule and save it. This rule is for that particular column is saved. Now let's look inside of the second one I want to show you today. And again, this is connected to, this rule is connected to my database instance. I'm scroll down and there's almost nothing to talk about because this is almost the same like the other rule I showed you. In the masking settings, I selected two columns from two different tables. Sometimes it's required when there is one of them as a primary key. Well, then the foreign key should have exactly the same invented value, right, like for the foreign key as for the primary key. In this case, DataSunrise will process them together. We'll call a function from the database instance, right? There's a picker to pick up that function from the code inside of the database engine. So this hide emails function will invent unique usernames in my emails. Whatever domain is used, but the user part will be fully unique, right? And it will be consistent again across all the values in email, in customers, and customers' passwords. Well, to achieve that, I designed that function to satisfy our requirements. Right? You can use your own approach, right? Let's enable the rule, save it, and test it. We have two rules activated for this particular database instance. Okay, let's go back to my customers. It's not refreshed yet, so we have these values as we have seen them previously. Now let's refresh the page. So this one should change. It will invent some fancy name. And this card should be covered with some pattern that DataSunrise invented. Okay, let's refresh the page. Yep. So we have these names unique for each user here. And we know that our user-defined function helped us to create unique usernames. And DataSunrise applied predefined credit card masking method. Okay, so we use just two rules to cover sensitive information like email and credit card. So this way, DataSunrise dynamic masking feature can help you to hide values from some pronouns, right, from some users or from all users if they should not see that kind of sensitive information. Okay, thank you for watching.